All right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Turkey Shoot, 1982. This is going to be another Ozploitation film. This is going to be another recommendation. In the year 2000, the game is Hunting. And something. I can't even read this movie poster. I thought it was 1996, not 2000. The trailer says 1996, but the poster says 2000. I don't get it. Oh, well. Excellent movie. 5 out of 5 stars. Good recommendation, Adrian. Turkey Shoot, originally released in the U.S. as Escape 2000, and also known in the U.K. as Blood Camp Thatcher, is a 1982 Australian dystopian action film. Just like our other two favorite movies in this genre, Cyborg and Omega Doom. Omega Doom. We like Cyborg and Omega Doom on this channel. It's a 1982 low-budget Australian dystopian film directed by Brian Trenchard Smith. Its ensemble cast an eclectic mix of international stars, Australian soap opera veterans, and character actors is led by Steve Railsback, who was in Helter Skelter. I got to add his name. The great Olivia Hussey, who at age 15 was in a nude scene, Romeo and Juliet, 1968. She gets nude in this one also. She's a British Argentine actress. Wow. She looks good in the shower. I bet you Adrian was hitting the pause button, but I got in trouble with my church pastor. This guy's off his rocker. He didn't want to give me absolution because he said I was watching too many nudie movies. I said, well, some of them are rated PG and and they still have nudity, and I try to avoid newer movies. So he gave me absolution. I don't know. This guy can't stand me. He doesn't answer the hard questions, and he's been ignoring me for 2 years. I think he was mad that I interrupted his Vespers and his Novus Ordite Mass. Anyway, Olivia Hussey came back and sued Romeo and Juliet for child abuse 50 years later. The court said, aren't you kind of too old for this? Isn't it kind of late for you to file a lawsuit 50 years later? You got Michael Craig, Noel Ferrier, Carmen Duncan, Roger Ward, and Linda Stoner. The film marks the first of 3 directional collaborations between Trenchard Smith and producer Antoni I. Giannani, the others being The Siege of Firehouse Gloria and Arctic Blast. The Siege of Firebase Gloria is 1989 and Arctic Blast is 2010. Although the director had previously made promotional reels and trailers for Giannani's earlier films, described by the director as a cross-genre in which 1984 meets The Camp on Blood Island, where they play The Most Dangerous Game. To me, this is The Most Dangerous Game with nudity and a werewolf in a dune buggy, which was cool. It looks like something I would have imagined when I was in when I was in kindergarten. The film depicts a concentration camp in a totalitarian society, which allows rich adventurers to participate in human hunting games. Wow, it sounds a lot like The Most Dangerous Game. With its deviant convicts, its story follows a political activist, Railsback, and an innocent prisoner, Hussey, as they work together to survive one such game and to turn the table on their oppressors. I was, despite the laughable special effects, gore scenes, uh, the shower scenes kind of make up for it, and the ending was great too. Lots of explosions, filmed in location near Cames. Turkey shoot underwent a troubled production as a result of a budgetary shortfall that reduced the shooting schedule. This also necessitated multiple scenes being rewritten or cut entirely. Extensive simultaneous second unit photography directed by executive producer David Hemmings. We know David Hemmings on this channel. I got to put his name on there too. And use of stock footage during post production, widely considered to be a seminal example of the Ozploitation cycle. The film is notable for its extreme depictions of graphic violence and sadism. Time Out declared that the film makes modern day grindhouse imitations such as Machete and Planet Terror seem like anemic shadows in comparison. Despite receiving negative reviews from such Australian critics as David Stratton and Philip Adams, Turkey Shoot is recognized as a cult film, has been championed by Quentin Tarantino, and was prominently featured in the documentary Not Quite Hollywood, The Wild Untold Story of Ozploitation, which I have reviewed. A remake directed by John Hewitt, starring Ganon, executive produced by Trenchard Smith, and starring Dominic Purcell and Viva Blanca, was released in 2014. I have not seen the remake. All right. Production companies Herndale, FGH, and Film Co., distributed by Roadshow Film Distributors. Release date October 14th, 1982. Running time 93 minutes. Perfect time. I posted the link to the movie and the trailer in the description box. The movie is available for streaming for free on YouTube, which is why I still like Adrian recommendations, because some of them are free on Tubi. Country Australia, language English, budget $2.5 million, box office $321,000 in Australia. It seems like a box office flop, this movie. They put a lot of money into this and it still looks cheap. In a near future totalitarian state that is not identified but can be taken to be Australia, so-called social deviants are sent to mass prison camps for re-education and behavior modification. Maybe it's a FEMA camp. The new arrivals at Camp 47 are Chris Walters, an innocent shopkeeper arrested when trying to help a rebel who was chased into her store and beaten by the police. We like Chris Walters. She gets naked in the shower. And there's also a group shower scene with men and women, full frontal nudity on the women. Rita Daniels, a suspected prostitute, and Paul Anders, a political dissident and pirate radio broadcaster who escaped from several other camps. It's a good thing he's there. They wouldn't have escaped without his help. Campmaster Charles Thatcher subjects his wards to brutal, inhumane treatment. It kind of reminds me of Salo. These people are sadistic. Chris barely avoids being raped by the sadistic guards, Red and Ritter, and Paul is tortured for intervening. Their cellmates Griffin and Dodge separately plot escapes but are unaware that their ongoing attempts are surveyed by the guards. Ritter beats a petite woman prisoner to death on Thatcher's orders, and a male prisoner who tried to escape is forced to play a game of football, where he pathetically races around leaking orbs full of gasoline, which while being beaten by the guards. This ends with Ritter when Ritter sets the spilled gas on fire, burns the prisoner to death. Every year, Thatcher and a circle of VIPs, portly Secretary Mallory, Icy Jennifer, gleefully sadistic Tito, and Tito's beastly accomplice, Alf. He's a werewolf. They They select 5 prisoners to be human prey in a turkey shoot, a deadly 12-hour hunt in which defenseless quarries are released into the nearby wilderness to be stalked and killed by the armed hunters. Paul, Chris, Rita, Dodge are chosen to be the prey, told that they will be freed should they survive the time limit. Griff is added to the group after starting a fight with Dodge in the dorms. Griff has a death sentence. The rest of the movie is just like the A-Team. They're shooting at rocks and they're shooting at the ground for the most part. With the 3, they could have ended it quickly if they had just aimed for the target. But for some stupid reason, they don't shoot to kill. They're like they're purposely aiming for the wrong target for some unknown reason. This is one of those so bad that it's good type films. Let's put it that way. With the 3-hour head start, the prisoners are sent out at half-an-hour intervals, and they quickly become separated. Dodge is the first to be caught, Alf breaking up and eating his little toe. That was a great show. That was a great scene. So the werewolf breaks his shoe open, yanks out his little toe, and then eats it like it's some kind of finger food. But it's toe food. It's toe food. Not tofu, but toe food. Under Tito's instructions before chasing him down and killing him by beating him and breaking his spine. Thatcher toys with Paul by firing near misses with a sniper rifle. Near misses. Intentional near misses, it should say, forcing him to scale a difficult rock formation and preventing his scramble to find Chris. Paul manages to redirect Thatcher's pursuit by causing a rock slide while Griff jumps Red and takes his assault rifle, placing him in a trap that later kills him. He tries to mount a counterattack, but is pinned down by Jennifer and Thatcher and incapacitated with arrows before being run over and killed. Jennifer proceeds to stalk Rita on horseback, trapping her before raping and killing her. Yeah, the rape was off screen. I think Jennifer is a lesbian. Tito attempts to bisect Paul with the tractor shovel attached to the front of his buggy. Paul manages to get out of the way, and Tito inadvertently kills Alf. What Paul did was he grabbed a tree branch and he stuck it right in his eyeball. And then Tito couldn't stop the dune buggy thing with the it looked like a dune buggy with some kind of a shovel in front that sliced Alpha in half. Literally, you could literally sliced him in half, and like a chicken with its head cut off. Alf keeps talking while his body is sliced in half. It was like watching that show. Mallory and his guide, Chief Guard Ritter, track Chris through dense jungle into a sugarcane field. Ritter attempts to smoke her out by setting the field aflame. When Mallory stumbles into Chris before he can rape her, Paul jumps him and gets his gun, shooting him in the groin and escaping with Chris as he burns to death. The two run to what they think is the end of the wilderness, only to realize upon reaching coastline that they're on an island and there is no way out. Ritter catches up to them, but Chris cuts his hands off with his own machete and he bleeds to death. So that was off camera, but we do see the chopped off hands. The problem is that the arms are way too long for the hands to be chopped off. The two resolve to fight back, killing Tito and stealing his buggy. Armed with a mounted machine gun, they storm the camp and they free the other prisoners. This is where it starts getting exciting. We get to see the good guys win. The uprising leads to the RAAF scrambling a bomber to destroy the camp and to quash the revolt. The prisoners raid an armory for arms, fending off the guards, while Chris destroys the communication center, and she kills Jennifer by grabbing an explosive arrow and jamming it into her head, which then explodes. Another cool scene. This is like a Herschel Gordon Lewis dystopian film, which rips off The Most Dangerous Game. Thatcher attempts to lead a counterattack, but Thatcher is blown apart by machine gun fire from Paul. Another cool scene is the upper part of his torso gets blown up by a machine gun. And the prisoners flee into the jungle just as the camp is destroyed by napalm airstrike. What a crazy film. Plus, it's got the great Bill Young as Griffin, a longtime rebel who has previously escaped from several camps placed in the turkey chute after a confrontation with Dodge. Bill Young was also in the great he was in Meltdown. Excuse me, not Meltdown. He was in Body Melt from 1993. We love Bill Young on this channel. Body Melt is another great exploitation flick. According to Brian Trenchard Smith, the film was always meant to be a satire. The original script was sort of like I Am a Fugitive from a Chain Gang meets The Most Dangerous Game with 70 pages of Chain Gang, and Most Dangerous Game lasted about 35 pages. I didn't think that was good balance. Also, it was set in the Depression era Deep South. We had tax-based financing in place on condition that it was supposed to be set in Australia. So I suggested we set it in the future and make it more universal. We wanted to make a tongue-in-cheek but gutsy action movie with subtext about corporate fascism at the beginning of the Reagan era. He had Australia frightened. Ronald Reagan cartoons were often spray painted on Sydney walls in 1981. So he hired Neil and John to redo it. Then, of course, there were days when I was writing pages myself during this shooting. Turkey Shoot was produced during the Australian film tax exemption scheme 10BA. Under 10BA, film costs were subsidized by the Australian government, and directors tended to cast foreign leads in the hope of boosting success in the Europe or the Americas. The movie was shot in far north Queensland near Hemmings. According to Trenchard Smith, the schedule was slashed from 44 days to 28 just prior to filming. David Hemmings was one of the executive producers, and Hemmings shot some second unit scenes, which Trenchard Smith says caused some tension. He did not think much of me. He knew that a completion guarantor had me waiting in the wings to take over an earlier film, Race of the Yankee Zephyr. Hemmings was directing if he continued to remain behind schedule. He was having an on-again, off-again affair with a member of the cast. When he made fun of me in front of my wife and newborn son once in the production office, I poured beer on his head. He was a little more careful with me after that. Linda Stoner had insisted on no nudity when she accepted the role, but when she arrived on set, she found out she was required to do so. She objected, pressure was put on her, so she compromised and did a back shot, but says she always regretted it. Olivia Hussey had a miserable time during filming, hating coming to work and being terrified of the Australian bush. Boy, Olivia Hussey had a rough film career. We like Olivia Hussey on this channel. And we like it when she's in the shower by herself. Turkey Shoot grossed $321,000 at the box office in Australia, which is the equivalent to $984,110 in 2009 dollars. The film was released theatrically in the United States by New World Pictures. Roger Corman. As Escape 2000 in October 1983, the MPA required New World to make huge edits to the film's graphic violence, gore, and rape scenes to qualify for an R rating. New World tried to use a less edited cut for distribution, but the ratings board, irritated that some other films had been able to pull that two-step on them, threatened to ban the film from release entirely if the heavily edited R-rated cut wasn't solely used. The film was released in the UK under the opportunistic title Bloodcap Thatcher, referring to the Cold Camp Commandant Charles Thatcher rather than the British Prime Minister. Commandant, not commandment. Commandant Charles Thatcher. The film was released on special edition DVD by Anchor Bay Entertainment, and the cut Blu-ray has been released by Severn Films. Okay, Karate Man's talking about something else. So Karate Man's in the chat room already. He got an early start. So Ellen DeGenerate left the U.S., did I hear? Yeah, I noticed that. Good riddance. I was never a fan of Ellen. Let me guess, you're not a fan too, obviously. I never watched her show. I never seen any of her entertainment talk show stuff. Why in the world does celebrity have to let us know that they're leaving America? I guess you mean the U.S. because of Trump? Like, just go. We don't need to know if you're leaving the U.S. Oh. I wasn't really paying much attention. I know she's a lesbian, and she probably thinks that her rights are being scaled back thanks to Trump, who hasn't even started becoming president, and there's World War III that Biden left him with. I thought I thought the Democrats were not going to certify the election, and then there would be all these riots from Black Lives Matter and Antifa. But instead, something totally unpredictable happened. Namely, Joe Biden decided to attack Russia, and then leave World War III with Donald Trump. All right. Okay, the film was released on special edition DVD by Anchor Bay Entertainment, and an uncut Blu-ray has been released by Severin Films. I think I watched the uncut version. 2008 Melbourne International Film Festival. Turkey Shoot featured in a focus on Ozploitation collection of 1970s and 1980s Australian exploitation films, including Barry McKenzie holds his own, Dead End Drive-In, and Railsback. These over-the-top B-grade films were characterized by lashings of gratuitous sex, violence, and fuel injected muscle car mayhem, which pushed the boundaries of audience taste to new limits. Joe Baltake, film critic for Philadelphia Daily News, gave the film a negative review, describing it as a vomitous offering and unfit for human consumption. Oh, that's my kind of film. Bill O'Connor from Ark and Beacon Jr. Journal called the film garbage and highlighted the excessive use of gore and the wooden acting. We like gore and wooden acting on this film. Australian film critic David Stratton also condemned the film as a catalogue of sickening horrors, adding that the actors involved should have been ashamed for appearing in such trash. Well, Olivia Hussey was ashamed. She was also ashamed of Romeo and Juliet in 1968. Her entire movie career is shameful. Come to mention it, Filmic magazine called versions of the classic story Most Dangerous Game appear at least once a decade. This was Australia's 10BA version, directed with a great pace by Brian Trenchard Smith and featuring an excellent cast and perhaps Australian cinema's most notable werewolf. A remake of Turkey Shoot was released in 2014. It was directed by John Hewitt and also produced by Anthony I. Ganane, with Trenchard Smith serving as an executive producer. Olivia Hussey mentioned shooting this film in her 2018 autobiography, The Girl on the Balcony. Oh, I'd like to read that. We like Olivia Hussey on this channel. We'd like to see more of Olivia Hussey on this channel. We have more Olivia Hussey movies on this channel's movie list. All right. Turkey Shoot 1982 R, 1 hour 20 minutes. It was 1 hour 30 something minutes on Tubi. I posted the link in the description. It gets an okay 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb, 4,400 ratings. Pretty popular movie. In a dystopian future where deviants are held in re-education camps, a freedom fighter and an innocent prisoner try to survive their decadent oppressors' game of kill or be killed. See if I can read this movie poster. Better resolution, maybe? Forget it. More like this: Dead End Drive-In, Fair Game, The Man from Hong Kong, and Stone. Olivia Hussey almost accidentally cut off Roger Ward's hands in one scene. When the director yelled, "Cut!" she took the order the wrong way during the scene, and Ward just pulled his hands out of the way in the nick of time. Yeah, that's not working. I tried to click on the movie poster, and it gave me the cast. That's IMDb for you. When Chris cuts Ritter's hands off, traumatically amputating both of them, even though there are several arteries and veins in the stumps, other than blood on the stumps, there is no blood spurting out of them at all. This is an impossibility. As long as Ritter's heart was flowing, blood would have initially shot out of the stumps, slowing as his heart stopped. Quotes Charles Thatcher, "One of you has been foolish enough to try to leave us before his re-education was completed. In my view of this is treason and will be treated as such. You will remember our motto: freedom is obedience, obedience is work, work is life." It's kind of a dumb motto, actually. We'll now understand once and for all that the reverse is also true. Disobedience is treason. Treason is crime. Crime will be punished. Extreme violence and some nudity cut for the U.S. release to avoid an X rating. Featured in Dead End Drive-In, 1986. Here's a somewhat flattering review. Although the rating is lower than mine, 7 out of 10, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. All right. Here's a pretty flattering review from Lone Wolf and Cub, dated November 29th, 2008. Lone Wolf and Cub gives it a 7 out of 10. And Lone Wolf of Cub titles his IMDb review, "Classic Slice of Exploitation." Brian Trenchard Smith's Turkey Shoot is a typical 80s Aussie horror film. That is, you should not watch this expecting a masterpiece of the genre. You should expect, however, a brainless blood and boobs fest with dodgy acting and story. Yeah, this is my kind of flick. Blood, boobs, what is it? Beast, boobs, and blood? Basically, civilians are sent to concentration camps in the near future to be turned into model citizens. Paul Anders, Steve Railsback, Chris Walters, Olivia Hussey, and Rita Daniels, Linda Stoner are sent to a camp run by Charles Thatcher, Michael Craig. Of course, this is a cruel camp with a sadistic chief guard, Roger Ward, and zany people. Thatcher decides to create a game, a turkey shoot, in which a few nutcases select prisoners to hunt for sport. As to be expected, our three heroes are selected, along with the resident loon and the tough escapee. What follows is an onslaught of blood and gore, which is incredibly enjoyable and odd at the same time. Yeah, you can say that again. The lead up to the hunt is a tad slow, but some nudity and random violence helps the pacing. The two leads, Railsback and Hussey, are pretty good, as is Ward, but most others are terrible. None of the characters are that likable, and the werewolf circus freak was so incredibly random. But with a film like this, all you can do is sit back and watch the body count rise and the bras come off. This is not great filmmaking, but for exploitation, it is fun while it lasts. It is also one of the best exploitation Ozploitation flicks out there. The other one being Body Melt. Lone Wolf and Cub gives it 3.5 out of 5. I'm giving it 5 out of 5. So, Karate Man didn't want to talk about Turkey Shoot. He wanted to talk about Ellen Degenerate. I told him I'm not much interested in Ellen Degenerate. I don't care if she moves to France. Good riddance. All right. So the next 3 movies coming down the pike are True Lies, 1994, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, and The Snow Creature, 1954. Yeah, I was saying Adrian's in the chat room now. I guess it's wake up time in Australia. The hottest actress never gets nude? I thought the hottest actress in this one was Olivia Hussey, age 29. I don't know which actress you're referring to. Are you talking about the blondie? I told you. Oh, the Asian one. I don't remember her. I must have missed that. Adrian and Karate Man have an Asian fetish, but I bet you Adrian still hit the pause button during the group shower scene. Full frontal. This movie is crazy, man. It would have gotten an X rating if Roger Corman hadn't cut a lot of the. It would have gotten an X rating here in the U.S. if Roger Corman hadn't cut out a lot of the gratuitous scenes like that one. That kind of surprised me, and I also got in trouble with my church pastor. Steve Railsback, who played Charles Manson in Helter Skelter. We got to put his name in there, and we got to mention David Hemmings. All right. Well, you got my review. Karate Man came into the chat room kind of in the middle, and Adrian came at the end, so you're going to have to rewatch the whole thing, Adrian. 38 minutes later.